figured I'd jump in here and explain my reasoning when I raised my hand about why do I call myself an independent contractor? Because the reality is, as far as the positions, as far as doing the deliveries for DoorDash or Uber Eats or doing Rideshare, those are not really independent contractor positions. Let's be honest about that. The fact of the matter is, we talked about background checks, right? If I'm providing service as a business, why can't I sign up for any of those companies using my LLC credentials? Every single time, with every single company, you have to sign up as an individual. You have to have a background check done as an individual. You're not being signed on as a business other than when they want to pay you. So that doesn't sound like I'm saying I'm an independent contractor, does it? You know, I think all the things that these companies are doing violate the idea of an independent contractor because of the way they try and control you. And that is absolutely the bottom line thing that you're not supposed to be able to do with independent contractors is control the work, right? But the reason that I call myself an independent contractor is because I decide to be. And in so doing, I look at DoorDash and Uber and all these companies that are as my customers. Now, if you've ever run a business, you know that the nature of the beast is your customers are going to try and screw you over, right? And so that's part of why I don't want to be an employee, for one thing. I'm okay with these companies. I'm not okay with it, but I'm okay operating as an independent contractor with customers that want to screw me over. There's no way in hell that I'm going to be an employee for an employer that wants to screw me over. Because it all comes down to I get a little more control over it. We got a lot of content people, so probably a lot of people are familiar with Gary Vee. Gary Vee had a saying that he said a lot of times that when you're running a business, everything is your fault. And he said, but that's a good thing because that means you're in control. And so that's kind of the approach that I decided to take. And so I've never felt like I was at the mercy of DoorDash or Uber Eats or any of these other companies. I look at it as if I'm running a business. And there's a point when you're running a business that, running a business does not mean flexibility. If you think running a business means flexibility, try opening a restaurant and serving prime rib for breakfast. You can do it because that's your choice, but you're not going to stay in business. So there's not all of those things. But what I've decided to do, and it has done wonders for my peace of mind, is that I decided I'm still going to act like it's my business. I'm going to make my decisions. And you know what? If the money's not there, then it doesn't make business sense for me to go out there and make that money. Now, that doesn't excuse any of the other people. Like I said, the customer's always out there to screw you over, right? Grubhub is that company that they were the kings when I started, or maybe I should say Postmates because they weren't as substantial, but they're always that company that, they're reaching for the candy bar and trying to slip it in their pocket or something and walk out. DoorDash is the one that's picking up the TV, holding it up high and saying, try and stop me, suckers. They're all trying to rip us off. But I can work with that because I can still make my decisions around all of those things. Now, the thing about it, though, is when you're doing it from a business mindset, is that there's always a time where you start to realize, man, maybe this just doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe it's time to close up shop. Like I said, I don't want to be an employee of these companies, but I will say that, you know what, if we want to divorce an employee model, there's one way to do it. And that is everybody who, there's a part of your contract, no matter what platform, there's a part of the contract somewhere that says, I agree that I am providing services as a business. Some kind of language like that. I am providing services as a business and not as an employee. There's somewhere in there, there's something to that nature that's in your contract somewhere. Now, if everybody who didn't believe that decided, I'm not signing up for that, they would have to go out and hire employees. And if everybody who just said, okay, I'm not doing this under this because it just doesn't make sense anymore, if they kind of held to their guns, eventually these companies would have to make a change. It may not be the change we want. That's the problem. You know, because like I said, I don't ever want to work for one of these companies. If they go employee model, I'm going. But, you know, I think there's two things going on here. The first one is, what can we do as a group of contractors about all these ways? And I don't think forcing people to be employees is the answer, but I do think that we can seek out ways to force them to honor the independent contractor relationship. How come that's never part of the discussion? Policing the oversteps, policing the extra control. You know, is there some way that we can do something with that? Does it mean going through the Federal Trade Commission, who has said that they're planning on cracking down? I don't know, you know, but that's where I would rather see things go, is something like that. But there's that part, what can we do? But then I think there's the other part that just says, what do we do for ourselves when they're trying to rip us off? And that's where I guess I would really encourage you to at least approach it from that kind of a business perspective and say, okay, I'm in control, I'm the boss, I get to make my own decisions, I am not going to fall for their algorithms or any of that stuff. I'm going to make my own decisions, and unfortunately, if it's not enough at some point, it's time for me to close up shop and go somewhere else. And I don't know how close that time is coming, because I never used to have to wait 20 minutes at a time between orders. You know, so they're playing their games, and at some point, it's not going to make sense anymore. I'm okay to move on, but I think that's the reality that we have to understand as independent contractors, is that we are doing this as a business. It might not feel like it, and I know they really don't think that you're a business owner because of the way they treat us. But in the end, it's not about what they do. It's about what we do. We can only control the things. Yeah, it's not about what they do. It's about what we do. 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person basically says you can only control or only focus on the things that you can control. We can't control Uber, we can't control DoorDash, but we can control ourselves. We can take an attitude that says, I'm going to take control of whatever it is, and I'm not going to let them control me. And I think the more that we do that, the less likely we are to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Taken advantage of. That's my thought, anyway.
Yeah.
Woo!
He also is very active on Twitter. Ron's a friend of mine here from Denver. We've done a lot of collabs together, and he does deep dives like I do and finds all kinds of problems with some on Twitter.